So Janet Jackson allegedly said in The Guardian, she's not black. That's what I heard, that she's Indian. And the journalist wrote, she looks at me expectantly, perhaps assuming that I have Indian heritage. Well, she's both, I offer. And Janet reportedly says, her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days, she coughs. I was told that they discovered her father was white. The journalist wrote, I'm floored at this point. It's well known that Harris's father is a Jamaican economist, a Stanford professor who split from her Indian mother when she was 5. Now, an apology came out, but there was another statement that came out saying the person who issued the apology is not Janet Jackson's manager, and her manager is her brother, Randy Jackson. And there hasn't been a statement since. And of course, you see right-wing media outlets jumping on this, saying, see, even Janet Jackson is saying that Kamala Harris isn't black. I do want to point out, I believe that Janet Jackson is considered a resident of California, where Kamala Harris was an attorney general and senator. Keith, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Clay, you know how I don't really know a lot about pop culture, right?
Yeah.
You've had me on a few times for your quizzes, and I always end
Black
up
trivia quiz. Yes,
I,
yes.
I always end up screwing up the pop culture, so I don't know anything about pop culture. But I also know not to go on a pop culture show or entertainment show and try to pretend like I'm an expert. I know when to stay in my lane. I've spent my entire life working on politics and government. I've worked in the White House. I've worked for political campaigns. I've studied politics. I have a degree in political science. I taught political science at 3 different colleges. Janet Jackson doesn't know anything about politics. From what I understand, she's a Jehovah's Witness who doesn't vote.
I heard
And
she denounced that in the late 80s, just to be
okay,
clear.
all right.
And
Well,
in 2020, she posted on her Facebook page information to go out and vote. Just to be clear. Go ahead.
okay. Well, did she say she voted?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay. So I am, and I also understand that she, and again, like I said, I don't know anything about pop culture, so I could be wrong. I also understand, but I heard, as Janet says, I heard that Randy is the one who's leading all this information to her, because Randy is a big RFK Jr. supporter, and RFK Jr. is a conspiracy theorist who supports Donald Trump. So I say all this to say that, maybe Janet Jackson should just stay in her lane on this issue. It wouldn't hurt if she had just not said anything. But to deliberately spread misinformation, maybe it wasn't deliberate, maybe she really thinks it's true. But anybody who's seen a photograph of Kamala Harris's father can tell you he's not white. He's clearly black. He's a black Jamaican. Yeah, I tell people, I say he's a black Jamaican. I say, well, just because he's from Jamaica doesn't mean he's black. Yeah, I get that, but he is a black Jamaican. You
He's
can
a
look at him
black
and see
Jamaican.
he's a black man. I mean,
His race is black. His nationality is Jamaican.
exactly. Not only to mention the fact that Kamala's mama raised her to be black. She says so in her
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Kamala's daddy raised her to be black. Her sister says she's black. Her family says she's black. Her friends say she's black. Her sorority says she's black. She said she's black for her entire life. So the idea that Donald Trump, some racist white guy who wouldn't even believe that Barack Obama was born in the United States, gets to tell people that Kamala Harris, this distinguished, accomplished black woman, isn't black, is offensive. And the idea that a black person in a position of power and responsibility and credibility, a black woman, would say this about another black woman is troubling, especially considering all the racial history in the Jackson family.
Yeah.
I don't even want to get into all the stuff, but somebody posted, I think this as well, are Michael Jackson's kids black? When you are a celebrity, you have a position of power, responsibility, or people listen to your voice, you have a platform. You do have a duty to be careful not to spread misinformation. And this is a case of misinformation. Clearly, Kamala Harris is black. You've resolved this many times before. I mentioned in a video I think they did the other day. You mentioned the 1-minute video when I was in Chicago that not only did she not only was she black and identifies black, but she grew up in Oakland, California. People say, "Oh, well, she's not black because she grew up in Oakland." Of course, she's not black because she grew up in Oakland. But the point is, she was around black people. Then I said, "Well, she went to Howard University, historically black college." I said, "Going to HBCU doesn't make you black." Of course, that doesn't make you black. But again, it shows that she's been around black people. She made a conscious choice in that case to be around black people. She joined AKA sorority. Oh, it doesn't prove you're black. Well, you know what? It shows that she made a conscious choice to accept and identify with her blackness once again. So all these people saying that, oh, she just turned black. Was she thinking about turning black when she was a college student at Howard and when she joined AKA sorority? I mean, this is clearly nonsense. It's misinformation that's being spread by the Trump campaign to sow chaos in the black community and to depress black turnout.
Do you think she should release a proper apology or statement?
Yes, but I think, well, yes, well, let me say this. I think this issue is not going to go away for her until she uses her own voice to speak out about it. It can't be a spokesman anymore, a spokesperson. It has to be Janet Jackson saying something. Whether she chooses to do so is up to her. But I'm telling you, it's not going to go away.
What are your thoughts on this, Reese? You adore Janet Jackson. You see her pretty much every year.
I
What are
do
your
no
thoughts on
more and
this?
multiple times if possible. Yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stick beside her, honey. Like I not too much on Janet for me. I know I'm Team Kamala and all that stuff. And like 2020, Reese would have canceled anybody for coming at Kamala. But 2024, Reese, I'm just like, I love me some Janet. To be fair, okay, I want to. This is what one way I want to defend her. She's not racially gatekeeping. Her
No.
the interview was not, oh, she's mixed, therefore she's not black, or she's not doing that. There has been, and Clay, you have heard me say this so many times, and I've been saying this
Hmm.
for 5 years now. The number one method that Vice President Kamala Harris is attacked is on undermining her blackness. That
Yes.
has been quantitative. You can go back. I've posted videos where I have screenshots. The number one issue that they've used to attack Vice President Kamala Harris is suggesting that she's not really black. And they have put a lot of money and years of investment behind perpetuating this notion and targeting our communities with this notion that she's not really black. And so I remember a month or so ago, where I was seeing a lot of comments. Now, this is from the chaos agents, the disinformation agents, saying that Kamala Harris's dad is Indian, and he's Jamaican Indian, Indo Jamaican, because he's fair skinned, and so are light skinned.
Hmm.
It's stupid, right? But
Yeah.
that is what they've tried to say. Like, yes, he is Jamaican, but he's Indo Jamaican. I haven't heard
Hmm.
necessarily that they've said that he's white, but they have tried to say that he's Indo Jamaican and she has white ancestors in Jamaica. So they're trying to, this is, like I said, this is a disinformation campaign. That's what they've been pushing for a while now. So it doesn't really surprise me to hear a person who said, "Oh, well, I heard that, her dad is white, or I heard that her dad is Indian, or that she's not whatever." And to be fair, and this is going to be unpopular, and like I said, I'm Team VP, she has not said that she's a black woman during this presidential campaign on the biggest stages. Yes, she said it at the NABJ forum, and it was tucked into an answer, you know, but that wasn't a very high profile thing. Nobody was even talking about it. And I love the journalist that interviewed her. I said at the debate, didn't I say I want to hear her say black? At the DNC, I said I want to hear her say black. And I said that because of the strategy against her. Now, do I think she's going to lose because, people have said that she ain't really black? No, but if I'm putting my strategist hat on, if there is one thing that I am attacked on relentlessly, I'm not just gonna act like I'm above the fray and, oh, I'm not gonna dignify. That's literally the form, the attack that's against you. And so they've made a strategic calculation that they're gonna let everybody around her speak to her being black. And she's not going to really talk about her identity in that way. Now, she'll talk about being the child of immigrants. She'll talk about her mom is from India. Her mom is a brown woman with an accent. She'll even say that her dad is Jamaican, but she doesn't talk about her blackness. She does not talk about that. And that's a strategic thing that they've chosen as her presidential campaign. And so, in my view, and this isn't just because I love me some Janet, I've said this repeatedly, Claire. I'm not saying this for the first time. I think that when you choose to cede the floor, cede the discussion about your blackness to the opposition, this kind of stuff happens. You let the disinformation win, you let the misinformation win. And so it is what it is with that. I think that she could have cleared it up. And I know people think, well, she shouldn't have to do that. Da, 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 da. Okay, but do you want to win? Do you want to let somebody else dictate the conversation? Do you want to let this investment and your in undermining your blackness be the dominating conversation, or do you want to handle it? So I feel like she could have handled this by now, and she's chosen not to. So I'm not gonna really get on Janet too much because she's heard the disinformation that's being invested in when there has not been an effort from Kamala Harris out of her own mouth to counter this. You can have Joe Biden saying her black job. You can have Michelle Obama. You can have everybody and their mama speaking to your blackness, but she has not done that yet during this campaign. And I think that she, as a result, is allowing some of these narratives to persist.
So I agree with you on many things. The only thing that I will say, and Keith was alluding to this earlier, is that the Jackson family has really been attacked and criticized on race for a very long time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There are narratives out there that they don't want to be black. They didn't want to be. I mean, our younger listeners may not know all this, but
Mm-hmm.
it goes back.
Yeah, oh
It
yeah.
goes back a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson was attacked incessantly on race.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Folks believe he didn't have vitiligo, and some folks say that even if he did have vitiligo, his facial features just changed.
They
So there has
did.
really been they've been attacked for being in interracial relationships.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of them all have white spouses. Nothing wrong with that, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think Janet, probably more than a lot of black people, understands. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know, but I would think understands what the pressure that black people, especially black women,
Mm-hmm.
uh, go through in media,
Yeah.
and how so easily your identities can be picked apart,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So my only thing is separate from what you're saying, because I hear what you're saying about, the importance of making things clear. You shouldn't have to, but this is the world that we live in. And I think of the way Obama navigated that. Not that Obama talked about race constantly. I'm not saying he did it all, but he just made things clear when he had to, and
He
it was
made him
seamless. It
he
was
made
seamless.
his identity clear. He was
Yeah, it
very
was
clear on his
seamless.
identity.
But I am a little bit. I would love for her to make a statement because I adored. I've interviewed Janet Jackson. I have a photo
Mhm,
with her.
mhm.
The way that, and much of the way that Kamala Harris is being attacked on her race, I do believe it's gendered as well. I
Yeah,
really
that's
do believe
true.
it's
That's
gendered
true.
because
Yeah.
black men who have a diverse background don't get this kind of criticism. I believe it's really gendered.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
as a black woman who has been vilified, Janet Jackson,
Yeah.
sexism, racism,
Mhm.
um, even ageism to some degree,
Mhm,
what she
mhm,
has gone
mhm.
through. I would just love if she would just make, she's not someone who's all engulfed in media. Just made a statement to say, hey, this was misinformation, this was wrong. Now it's turning into a weird story because her brother is allegedly her manager, who is an RFK supporter. It's just getting out of this world. I
Yeah.
mean, it's turning into what it shouldn't. And I can imagine it must be tough for Vice President Kamala Harris because, listen, I mean, I can imagine she adores Janet Jackson, that's her era. And now you
She
got Janet
probably
Jackson
does. I know.
like
My
talking
feelings will
about,
be hurt.
yeah, like talking about your race, and it didn't seem insidious the way Janet was talking about it.
No.
And I would just also add that the way the question was set up reportedly was they were talking about Rhythm Nation and how
Yeah.
the album was so political. We must all come together, and did Janet not know the vice president is a black woman? Did Janet not know her senator, because I believe she's a California resident, was a black woman? I think the larger conversation is how misinformation can really impact even the most privileged, the most rich
Yes, yes, absolutely.
demographics. It's just shocking because, you know, it's she posted in 2020 about churning out the vote and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
I just would love if she made, because we all love Janet. I just love she would make a statement because she knows what it means as a black woman to have every bit of your identity wrongfully attacked.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say with all love.
To be clear, it was irresponsible. I am not saying that it's okay that Janice said it. It was irresponsible. I don't know the setting and why she felt comfortable to say what she said. It was weird, you know what I'm saying? Especially
And
because
Reese, I'm sorry, maybe to your point, Janet's been doing media for a long time. I'm
yeah.
surprised she just didn't say, I'm very happy about this. It's a good moment for America." I was actually I was
Yeah.
surprised she's Janet is masterful in interviews. She
Yeah,
never
she
gets
don't
caught
give
out
too
there.
much. So
Yeah,
that
she
was
don't give too much. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, but I mean, it was strange. It was strange. It was irresponsible. And but like I said, I don't know what the setting was. I don't know the setting and why it came out like that. But that's how she really feels. That's how she really feels. But I have been saying for a very long time, Clay, that even celebrities have been perpetuating disinformation. I think it's probably coming from them as misinformation because I don't think it's their intent to deliberately spread incorrect things unless you're Amber Rose. But I have been saying that black celebrities are targeted with disinformation the same way that regular schmegular black people are. And so I really think that this episode is not just about Janet Jackson is crazy and Janet Jackson should know better. Da, da, da. I think it really does show and prove the extent to which this disinformation campaign is out there and has been effective at convincing some people that Vice President Kamala Harris is not black. This is a 5-year campaign that's happened, and then they keep changing it. So now, like I said, now he's Indo-Jamaican and da 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 da. And that, I mean, like, you know, at the DNC, she says she has a Jamaican dad. She didn't say she has a black Jamaican dad. Now, some people say, well, duh. But I'm saying when you leave these little cracks and these openings, and there's a whole campaign that's taking up oxygen, these kinds of things are bound to happen. And so I feel like, whatever calculation was made that it's, I'm just not going to dignify that or whatever, that's a calculation that they've made. They should be, if they're worth their salt, their weight in salt, they should be aware that the number one method of attack on her is race. I'm sure they run all kind of data analytics to see, oh, what are the keywords that are against her? What are the things? I know they have to know this stuff. So because I know they have to know, and because this has been a very persistent method of attack on her, and yet they have made no attempts for her as the candidate to address this, then I feel like, well, this is the kind of stuff that happens. These are the kind of conversations that happen. So until that changes, then somebody gonna say something stupid, get dragged, and it's gonna be a whole discussion. Everybody else is gonna say that Kamala Harris is black. And maybe in some forum offhand comment, she'll say that she's black, but she just has not explicitly leaned into her identity as a black woman. And I'm sorry, as much as I support her, I have to say that that's her choice in the face of a deliberate disinformation campaign. And that is what she has to be accountable for because she's the one who's trying to win. It's her campaign.
Lastly, I'll say, and I think it's fair if you feel like you need to call out Janet Jackson, that's fine. But the attacks on her this weekend, it was kind of relentless,
Yeah.
and talking about her face and everything. I just wish y'all had that same energy for a lot of the men who
Mm-hmm.
stand by Trump,
Mm.
like Kanye, like Kodak Black, like so many others,
Yeah.
like Snoop Dogg.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish y'all had that same energy for the men who have made these ridiculous comments supporting Trump. And I don't think Janet's a Trump supporter. I'm just saying, like, damn, I was like, wow, y'all are dragging this woman to hell.